Was brought to you by Simply Done Concierge. Folks, time we need more of. I know it's only September. We got the holidays coming up. You're going to have to be in 3, 4, 5 different places all at once. Please go to simplydoneconcierge.com. Tell them what you're looking for. I know they'll be able to help you be in those two places at once. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning. Welcome to Triangle BNI. This is a show about meeting local small business success stories. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle is Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and all the surrounding towns. And every now and then we jump down to Fayetteville, we go out to New Bern, we go out to Wilmington to meet our other friends. And that's who we have with us today, our local small business success story is Laura McGrath. She is the owner of LJ Novel Solutions. Laura is a member of the Hall of Famers chapter in Fayetteville. They meet Thursdays at 8 a.m. on Zoom. She is the incoming vice president. We have a bunch of things to talk about with Laura. Good morning, Laura. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mike?
Doing well. I normally am in the studio, in Amnon's studio, but I'm not there today. So if you see me moving back and forth, that's because I'm old and I'm standing and I can't get comfortable and all that good stuff. So I'm still laser focused on the show, but I'm one of those that just kind of has to move a little bit. So
No
anyway,
worries.
glad you're here today. So Laura is an event planner. Um, it sounds really easy. It does sound like a lot of fun. It sounds really easy, but it's not. So you must love playing air traffic controller.
I feel like it. Sometimes I need those cones, to just start, this way, that way, put it here, put it there. I think that would be helpful. It's a lot of logistics. It's a lot of organizing your thoughts, your plans. The smallest details need organizing. Um, it's a lot to put together to create a whole nice plan.
We've all been to enough weddings where we know that, oh, you see something or you see something and just, oh, wow,
Yeah.
that is awesome. So we do those. We've been, I don't know, has anybody ever thrown you a surprise birthday party before?
They have not, because
No, yeah.
as my husband will always say, I am not good at surprises. I'm very nosy and I'll find them out.
Yeah. I had one. So we were living in Florida. So this was probably what, 2001. I think it's about 2001 because I was turning 40. I think you were 6 at the time. And it's funny, you don't realize I blew through so many signs, but I didn't know about it because I wasn't looking for them, right? People say,
Hmm.
hey, I know we're headed home. Let's just stop off here for a second. I found out later the home wasn't ready for us. So we were close. So you get to work with all kinds of different people. You do weddings, you do birthday parties, you do graduations, all kind of things. How did you get into this line of work?
So it's kind of a fun story, I guess. I've always been an x-ray tech. Um, I am a military spouse and we move a lot. Um, I know you'll hear stories over the years where like nurses and people like that, as they travel all these different states, there's a lot of different qualifications you have to meet. A lot of different certifications you may have to get for the state. You have to get different licensing. We've moved to California a couple of times. We've just been bounce back and forth. So it's been difficult keeping a steady x-ray job. I generally worked in orthopedics. I like good fractures and, the sutures and the staples and all that good stuff. So it became a problem, probably our last PCS, which is when we moved to a different duty station. It was going to be costing me about $300 or $400 just to get all my certifications changed. So I told my husband, I said, I think I need to change. I need to look at something else. And along the way, I've actually always done events. I just do them for free and I did them for fun. In our units, I did a lot of the family events. Friends that I make along the way, I kind of was a baby shower queen. I would throw baby showers for our unit for ladies I've maybe met one time. But it just became it's just as fun for me. I love it. I love people. I love socializing. I like making people have fun. I think a lot of times the world gets a little too busy and you don't take time to appreciate each other and those little moments. Of the first, onesie that maybe you open for your first kid at your baby shower, and you're holding that little onesie and you put it against your belly and you see that mom just glow. I also glow. I live very vicariously through my clients. When I see their happiness, it melts me. Um, a wedding, when I see that groom and that tear starts coming, or that father of the bride is trying to hold it in while he's walking her down the aisle, I mean, goodness, it's everything in me to hold it in too. I love that. And so I just kind of got to looking online when we moved back here to North Carolina from California in the beginning of this year. And I just got to looking and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do something different. Don't know how, don't know why. So I looked into different certification programs, found some great programs for event planning. And I was like, I do that. Why not get a certification in it? Make me feel a little bit more legit about myself and maybe teach me more aspects of it that I probably don't know. Because I do, the decorating, the planning and stuff, but to have a legitimate system would be very helpful. So looked into it, easy 6-week course, got me certified. I immediately just started looking into all the aspects and it took off.
You're talking about weddings years ago. This was after Becky and I were married, so this is a long time ago. Friend of mine, we were talking about weddings one day, and she said, if you really want a great view of a wedding, is just watch the groom watch his bride walk in.
Oh,
And
it
the
melts
first
you.
the next wedding I went to, I did that. It's like, I hope I look like that when Becky was walking down the aisles.
Those are some of my favorite pictures that the photographer gets because, a lot of people, they're trying to look at both directions because they want to see that groom, they want to see that bride. And so they sometimes will miss that small moment when
Yeah.
that groom sees her for the first time. I mean, that's one of those earth-shattering kind of moments.
Mhm.
Um, it's really amazing, and I love that detail.
Now, how involved are you in the reception when the bride and the groom and the wedding party decide what music they want to enter with and what dance moves they want to do as they're introduced? Because those
Um,
are always fun.
so it definitely depends. I use many vendors, and different DJs have kind of different sets of rules. So, I may have a DJ who's like, we line everything up perfectly. You need to pick a fast song for this. You need to pick a slow song for this, a slow song for this. And then some are just like, pick your favorite songs. I'm gonna piece them in here how they're gonna fit. But usually, what I try to tell them is when you're entering, you're speaking volumes about your friends. When they're doing their entrance, your bridesmaids, your groomsmen, they may be your best friends since second grade. It's good to come up with a fun song that represents you. Now, some people get a little crazy and they just pick whatever the latest hip hop, whatever is, they come in, shaking it down. And I've had people coming in with, what did they have on? It was like a cooler and they had it kind of cross bodied and they were handing out beers on their way down the aisle. So I've quite truly had everything. Um, but the music, I definitely give them guidance, but everybody has such a different variety of music they listen to. I definitely let them pick their favorites, but I always recommend, pick something that represents you. Don't just go with the flow. Don't pull up what is today's greatest hits and pick the number one. Pick something that means something to you.
Yeah, my one of the things I look for at weddings, because I'm a not a non-dancer, I'm a can't dancer.
Oh,
Can't find the beat, can't do anything like that. And I always like to watch the couples come in because usually one of them can't dance and the other one can. And
yes.
I just chuckle because, like, yeah, that's me and my wife.
Yep, and that's okay because you know what? Everybody's still just in the awe of the moment and they're just excited. So they really have more fun than anything else to just watch you come in and watch you really get presented as that couple, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So are any type of the events kind of starting to be your wheelhouse yet?
I still very much have quite a variety. I work with so I toured many of the venues, like honestly, within an hour and a half of Fayetteville. I went to most every venue that there is, small, large, everything in between. And as I was meeting a lot of the people, um, they were like, "We need event planners and we need wedding planners, and we wish people would use them." And which was nice because it really gave me an eye of what the market is. So
Mhm.
I'm like, wait, I didn't realize it was that in demand. I thought it was something I could find, but I didn't realize it was in demand. So I was like, yay, me. um, but so as I talked to them, like I met several that really actually needed help on hand. So there is a wedding venue north of Sanford that I work with, and I do a lot of her weddings. There's a whole group of us, and we all kind of rotate around to help her. But we're her people that help run the wedding, and we set up the cake cuttings, and we help bring the bride down to the venue when it's time, and we kind of run it through the rest of the day until the end when everybody leaves. But then I also work with nonprofits. Have a big masquerade this weekend. I've done
Oh,
baby showers. I've done grand openings. It all brings me joy. So it's so hard for me to try to just narrow that field.
where do you stand on gender reveal?
Take it or leave it. It's fun if you can do it in a fun way. I don't do fireworks. I see too many the bad ones where you set fire to something and you didn't mean to. Um, I like the cakes. If anything, I like doing gender reveals with a cake. But the planner in me, I would have known as the parent, I would have known what I was having from day 3, whatever we found out at the ultrasound. The rest of the family, it's fun. I would do that gender reveal well before the actual baby shower because I'm a planner. I need to make sure I have enough clothes and all the proper colors.
I enjoy hearing stories. I think one of the funnier ones is the husband was pitching to the wife of softball or wiffle ball or something, and she was supposed to hit it and explodes, and here comes the color. And
hmm
she hit it, it didn't explode and went right back at him and hit him. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. Yeah.
Was
And
he pink or blue?
after I got done laughing, I forgot what they said, pink or blue, but
Right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. There's so many different ways people do it. Um, I have seen about 3 or 4. I've seen a piñata. It was at they had Hispanic heritage to their family, so they had a big piñata, big festival, everything. Um, it was not something I planned. It was just something I was at. And I mean, they beat this poor piñata to death. I didn't think they were ever going to get that confetti out. So there's definitely some trial and error to what you use to show that blue or pink. So
Have you, as I'm getting slightly older, just slightly, have you started doing any 60th anniversary parties for folks that have been married that long?
I haven't, and I think it's just because, and this was probably more of my personal family that I would have been involved in something like that with. Um, Most of my grandparents have passed on. I do have one set left. It's my in-laws. It's my husband's grandparents, and they're coming up on very large ones at
Yeah.
this point now. So I hope that they throw them a big one, and I do hope to plan it for them. Definitely be involved. But I haven't done too many, and I think a lot of it is I haven't been in the area too terribly long to have made enough of those connections. Because people throwing an anniversary party for somebody like that, I mean, it's a very special anniversary. I mean, wow, you've really committed a lot of time in there. So, I mean, it's pretty important, and the family is usually expecting pretty high standards. So, I mean, they're going to be giving them top of the line, and I just don't think I'm quite there yet.
Well, let me make it easy for you and add something to your sales and marketing plan.
Okay.
And my in-laws, so this would have been seven, I think 7 years ago, they had their 60th wedding anniversary. And father-in-law says, we're all going on a cruise. So
Love it.
if I were you, I would recommend that and tell them they, of course, have to pay for you to go on the cruise because you need to coordinate everything on the ship. So
Yes, I agree. Yes, I love that. That's a
we
great idea. And so many older people really do enjoy cruises because
have,
it has everything on it for you. And you don't have to worry about cleaning up space, people's taking care of that for you. You have all the food you can eat.
oh yeah, we enjoyed it. We got t-shirts. And they had a special dinner for us one night. It went real well. It was easy to
Oh,
do.
yes,
Nobody was unhappy going on a cruise.
I'm sure. My goodness. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I'll have to think about that one. Put it in my repertoire.
So find you a good travel agent and start to
Mhm.
put that package out there for, coordinating your big event on a cruise ship. And
Yes, absolutely.
all right. So one of your previous jobs was retail sales. I spent about a minute in that. I've had friends that have been in there a lot longer. There's always a good story. So tell me when your retail sales career started.
That was probably one of my very first jobs, actually. So when I was 16, I lived in a very small town in Western Kentucky, and it was one of those like stop sign kind of towns. We had a gas station, and I worked at that gas station. So all that good fun stuff, meeting all these people that I've grown up with my whole life in this town. And it's funny because they still actually ask to this day when they see my mom. They're like, "Oh, where's she at? I remember her when she was little, at that gas station." But I all through college, I worked at a Kohl's. Um, that that taught me a lot about life. Actually, working in retail, you ran across every type of life. You had the older ladies and gentlemen that had worked at this kind of store their entire lives. You had the young college ones like me who were, just transients, but we tried to do our best when we were there. You had the retired people who just refused to quit working. They just couldn't give it up. They had to do something. So, you had every walk of life in there. And it really taught you about talking to people and meeting people. So I loved working at Kohl's. That was my biggest thing, honestly. That taught me a lot. Um, then once I was married, working on and off, like I said, moving bases, it was hard to keep X-ray jobs. I worked on the military base at what we called the PX or the MCX in Marine Corps. It's our general store. It has clothing, it has snacks, it has just about everything. Um, that was the most fun. I always was learning something new. Me and the security people joked around quite a bit. Uh, there was always something. I had good times, bad times, every other in between. Um, I actually would say that probably my funniest story would have to be when I dressed up for Halloween there, though. I was a flapper, and I can't tell you how many times on this Marine base I had Marines come into me and they had no idea that I worked there for one, but I'd see them in their like military area and I would walk up to them, and I worked in the military uniforms department. So I'm very well versed in all military uniform. I'd come up to them and I'd be like, "Oh, what are you looking for?" And they'd kind of look at me and I'm all dressed as a flapper. And they're like, um, do you work here? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, is it Halloween? And I said, we're celebrating in the store early.
What? And you were dressed as what?
A 1920s flapper.
I don't follow. What is that?
Oh, a flapper. It's like a Great Gatsby.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay. I get it now.
But we were celebrating a little early in the store
Yeah.
because the way it fell, we actually had a big inventory coming up, so we weren't going to be able to dress up for it. But we were having a big contest in the store, so we were all like, "Let's do it a day early," and it just confused so many people. I had all these little young Marines looking for ribbons or some medal of some sort, and they're all like, "Ma'am," because they're like, "It's not Halloween." But it was fun because I took a lot of actually young Marines under my wing. And so that's probably my other favorite stories. I actually followed a Marine for the 2.5 years that we were at California. I helped him. He would come in and talk to me every time he had a uniform inspection because I would help get him straight. I made sure everything was lined up. I made sure all of his EGAs were turned correctly, and I would help him make sure that his shoes, I'm gonna call them shoes because y'all won't know what I call them if I call them else. Made sure they were shined and correct and that everything lined correctly on the seams. So I really took him under my wing, and it was funny because he was really sad when I left. He actually came in asking for me about a week after I had left, and they were like, "Oh, we're so sorry. She actually PCS to her next duty station," and he was like, "Well, what am I going to do now?" So my biggest thing is definitely in any job I work at, I I really I really put my whole self in it. That's my biggest thing, and I think I do that with everybody in any job, any relationship I have. It's all me. It's
And
it's
I
the whole
going
thing.
back to the different types of people that work in retail, and I do the grocery shopping for us
Mhm.
early in the morning, and I go to Walmart. I'm there at 6 or 6:15 on a Saturday usually. Very few people are there.
Sure.
And there's a nice older lady that works the front door checking your receipt.
Mhm.
And I guess I'm falling into that aging category. About every other week, she and I will swap bad dad jokes for each other.
Oh, nice.
So I stopped this week and I said, I got one for you. She goes, all right. Said a husband asked his wife, honey, am I the best one you've ever been with? And she said, yes, dear, but I just want you to know I've been with some good eights and nines as well. So she goes, I'm gonna remember that. So I'm sure I'll get one from her next week.
That is nice. Oh, I love that. Um,
Big fan of Kohl's. Great. My wife has the credit card, the frequent
yes.
shoppers, because you get money off with the coupon they send you. You go into the store, they take more money off. You get to the
Mhm.
register, you pay with a credit card, they take more money off, and then they give you coupons for your next visit. So
Yes, love it. It's
well
a great
run
store.
company.
It taught me quite a bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I don't think a lot of people know that you can return your Amazon
No.
uh, deliveries there. You can send it back to Amazon there, and Kohl's will give you something for coming in the store. So
Yep.
we'll plug
Yep.
for
No,
Kohl's.
you're right. A lot of people don't know that.
Yep. Yep. I like that though. Yeah, big fan of Kohl's. So
Mhm.
all right. So one of my favorite questions to ask guests on the show, your husband Mike, how did you two meet? And do you both tell the story the same way?
Nope, we won't tell the story the same way.
Good.
Um, so fun story.
How did you meet?
We met when we were 13. I had went to Ohio to visit my sister who lived up there with her husband and she had a new baby. My husband and my brother-in-law are cousins.
Okay.
And so I had went up and I know I'm 13 years old. My sister's about 10 years older than me. So she was like, we're going over having a family barbecue at Aunt Fran and Uncle Don. So I'm like, okay, I don't know who these people are. But they were like, they have two kids. They have a younger daughter. She's about your age. You two can hit it off, have somebody to hang out with while you're there. Cause I don't know these people. Um, hung out with Heather, my sister-in-law now. Um, Met the brother though, didn't think a thing of him, but I literally remember him. I can picture him as a 13-year-old boy. And so, years pass, never thought another thing of him. I don't even know that I saw them again when I went and visited my sister. So I was going to x-ray school and I had moved up to Northern Kentucky. And my sister lived just across the river in Cincinnati. So I moved in with her to go to Northern Kentucky University. And again, just moved up. So she's like, we're going over to Aunt Fran and Uncle Don's. Their son Michael has just graduated Marine Corps. He's home for the first time since, he did all of his schooling, his boot camp, everything. So we come up and again, they remind me, don't, you remember Heather? You and Heather were friends. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I don't remember. I remember her, but, don't remember this girl. I was 13 then. Now I'm 18. No, I was 19. And so we go, and sure enough, there's Michael. Looks totally different. Marine Corps slimmed him down. He was a football player in high school. He was heavier boy, and now he is a slim down stick from the Marine Corps, fresh out of boot camp. And me and his sister, we hung out, and then we started playing cornhole, and me and him got paired up on a team. So of course, we're like, or I'm sorry, we got paired up as opponents, so we're together on a board. So apparently he couldn't keep his eyes off me. And so that evening, because it was like 4th of July weekend, I believe. So that evening, we're talking, me, him, his sister, and a cousin of theirs who's about our age. And we're just all kind of chit-chatting, talking about what we're going to do for the 4th of July and stuff. So it was later in the evening, probably around 8, 9 o'clock. And they were like, what, you want to go out, do something? And I'm like, sure, let's all go. So we went down into Kentucky to Newport on the Levee, which is, it's just kind of a big hangout place. They have like an arcade. They have all kinds of stuff down there. Went down there, had dinner again, and we just hung out, chit-chatted. Me and him just really kept talking back and forth, and we kept finding moments where me and him were just talking, and it was just very sweet. And then the 4th of July, he came, picked me up at my sister's, and we went to an amusement park up there called Kings Island. I feel like it may have changed its name now, but I'm pretty sure Kings Island's still in there. We spent the whole day together, and by the end of the day, we were holding hands. He left like 2 days after that, maybe, to go back to California, and we literally have not stopped talking since. We talked every day, and even when he deployed, we would write letters, and we would get letters in the mail, and they would be every day.
All right. Now, how does he tell the story?
He swears he doesn't remember meeting me at 13.
Okay. Yeah. He's a football player. Yeah.
Yeah, and he would definitely say that we hung out and that it was nothing more. But by the end of the 4th of July, when we were holding hands at Kings Island watching the fireworks go off, yeah, he was pretty done. Um, he said he got back to California, and his bunk or his roommate, they were laying there in the bunks just talking about, what had happened while he was gone. And he was like, I just can't quit thinking about this girl. And his roommate was like, call her now. And he called, and I answered, and like I said, we have talked every day since.
When did you know it was going somewhere?
Oh, Rob, I would say probably the first time, because he flew me out to California about 6 months in, because I had started school and X-ray was very busy. It was a full-time thing. So full-time class, and then I had clinicals as well. And those were full-time pretty much. So about 6 months in, it was my first, like, I think it was probably Christmas or something. He was like, come out here. He was like, I can't come home. He was like, he's like, the way work schedule worked, he's like, I can't come home for Christmas. He's like, why don't you come out here? So I did, and I flew out, and we went to Vegas for Christmas. And, just for a couple of days is all he was able to get off, but it was so nice. And just being there, like, with him, and we're walking the strip and holding hands. And, like, of course, we walked past little Whitechapel and stuff like that. So I don't know, there was something that clicked. And so when I went to leave, I really didn't want to leave. And it was probably one of the hardest goodbyes that we'd ever had. Because it was just, I was like, I know that I literally can't touch you for at least another 6 months. And so it was really hard, but I think that's when I probably knew. It was about 6 months in. I was just like, there's just something. And talking to him every day, it was really special.
Did you cry on the plane the whole way home and you sat next to this elderly lady and she said, "Oh, sweetie, it'll be okay."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was bad. It was real bad. The stewardesses brought me like extra cookies. They were like trying to find anything to like soothe me. And I was just like, it's okay, I'll be fine.
Did you have an official first date at any point in time?
I mean, if anything, it almost would have had to have been Kings Island. We really never had like any other because it was always just I would go to him, he'd come to me, but we just had to pack everything in because it was usually like a 4-day weekend, and that's really all that we ever got in those 2.5 years before we finally got engaged, and at the 3rd year is when we got married, so
Right? And how many duty stations have you been assigned to since you two have been together?
alright, let's see. So we have Camp Pendleton, Cincinnati, Bragg, Lejeune, 29 Palms, and now back at Bragg, so 6.
Right? And what does he do?
He works for a joint communication unit, here at Bragg, so we actually have all the branches.
Right? And do you know how long you'll be here?
Well, that is give or take, but this duty station is usually 4 to 5 years, and we have been here for just over a year and a half.
Okay. All right. So you and I got some good quality chatting time last week or 2 weeks ago in Fayetteville. Your chapter had an event for realtors, and very much enjoyed the conversation. Come to find out, you are a exchange student parent.
Yes.
You have an exchange student from Spain. The best, and you need to tell the story again. I'm just going to say, people need to know the story about mac and cheese and your exchange student.
Like, so the exchange student program it was a whole idea of my husband's. We do not have any children, so it just kind of came up as something we wanted to do. Eventually, maybe once he retires, we'll talk adoption and stuff. But this is something that we can do on a temporary basis, and it's fun. Most of these kids are very entertaining. They really want to learn. They want to come to other countries. They want to do everything we do. They just, even the smallest thing, like going for a walk in the neighborhood and walking through the woods. I don't know because it's different than their woods. So we were grocery shopping for the first time when she got here. And of course, I have no idea what this girl eats. She's told me, like, talking to her before she came, she's like, I eat very healthy. And she's like, I eat very simple. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I don't know, bread, water. I have no idea. So we go shopping and we're walking down these aisles and she loves pasta. So I'm like, let's pick out some pasta. I'm like, I like pasta, get up some good spaghetti sauce or something. We start going down the aisles and she is like, oh, this is mac and cheese. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, do you not have mac and cheese? And she's like, no, they do not have mac and cheese in Spain. So we start looking at all the different ones, and I'm trying to explain. I'm like, this is Velveeta. They use like a cheese squeeze pack. It's like a liquid kind of deal. And I said, then you have Kraft, and that's powder. And said, you mix butter, milk, stuff like that. And she was like, what's the best one? And I'm like, well, okay. I mean, if you're gonna ask, I'm gonna put my 2 cents in here. So I was like, I grew up on Kraft. So I was like, we have to get Kraft if you're gonna try it. So she's tried Kraft now. In fact, she has now sent it to her brother in Spain because she insists that he must now try Kraft. So she has bought her we've done the box of mac and cheese, but she has now bought the little individual ones that she can make herself, so that she can have them for snacks after school. She says it is now her favorite pasta, even though she is quite the Italian pasta aficionado.
I love that story. I told my family when I got home, my boys are both big mac and cheese fans,
Hmm.
and they thoroughly enjoyed that story. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm sure you hear, like, we hear about sushi, but now we have sushi here. But they hear about Kraft mac and cheese and they hear about macaroni and cheese and all the different stuff, but they just don't have that there. they don't use a cheese sauce like that at all. And so it was quite entertaining watching her try it the first time because, like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, how's it taste? What do you think? And she's just like, this is so good.
And I have heard from friends that Kraft versus Belvita will split a household.
I've heard that. I've heard that. I mean, I know I've had both, and I don't know that if you put it in front of me, I'm if I blind taste tested it, if I would know the difference. But growing up, we just always had Kraft. It just is what we always had. That's what my mom bought. So I said, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do what I did. So
And she is here for 1 school year.
she is, yes.
And do they get, I'm assuming they get high school credit for doing this, right?
Yes. So the way that it works, and every country is different, they have to take a required amount of classes, and they have to be specific classes. So, like, she has to take all her math here. So she has to take the same math that we take here, but it has to have the geometry, the trigonometry, the algebra, the pre-cal or calc. Um, and it has to be a certain or has to be a certain type of class. It can't be all electives. If there's like ever an elective type, like a statistics or something, she can't take that. It has to be a very specific set for it to count in Spain. Because we were concerned with her science class. It's actually the foundation of health sciences. And I was like, oh gosh, I don't know. Is that hard enough? Like this seems this seems like a beginner class. I don't know if this is what is going to count for you. She's a sophomore, so she's at the lower level classes still. She's not at the senior level. And but so we checked and it was all okay with her country. But yeah, they have to take a required amount of classes. And it's a lot of it is the core classes.
Yeah.
So they have to make sure they have all of those because if they miss one or should they not make a certain grade, they will have to retake the entire year back in their country.
That's not good.
And they already take an extra year than us.
All
They
right.
do 13 years. So
Oh, I have heard that now that you say
yeah,
that. Yeah. Now,
I was like, oh,
does she have to write a report about everything or just take the class?
just take the classes. Yeah. So they do check-ins with us. They'll do a check-in with me and a check-in with her. They will see what we've been doing. And in her report, she'll kind of put what she's been doing in school with us. And that all gets submitted to the agency that we use through the State Department, to make sure that she is receiving a quality experience.
And you also mentioned, I think most people know in Europe, their dinner is way later than ours
Oh
here.
boy. Yes.
Have you guys settled that time yet?
Yeah, we have. This girl lives off of some popcorn too, I'll tell you that. Um, Between mac and cheese and popcorn, she's set. Um, and hot Cheetos. That's another one too. Her fingers are actually stained red because she eats them so much. But so we've got breakfast figured out. She eats very simple breakfast. She will eat lunch at school, but when she gets home, she likes a good snack, like pretty hearty. And then we do make her do dinner. We've moved our dinner. We usually eat around 6. So we've pushed it back to 6:30. On occasion, if my husband's late, I'm very off schedule when he's late. So we'll end up doing dinner about 7, me and her. But that's been definitely hard. She went to New York first for a few days before she came here. And the kids were, most of them that she was hanging out with were from all Europe. And so they're all going to dinner at 10 o'clock at night. And their sponsors and people up in New York were like, no, you guys can't be out in New York City at 10 o'clock at night. No, you have to go back to your hotel. So they had to quickly readjust their schedule there. So by the time she got here, she understood that we don't eat dinner that late. It's like, girl, if I eat dinner that late, my heartburn will be kicking me up. I'll be up all night.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. So, but I do find it funny. But that's where I enjoy seeing cultures come together,
Love it.
you learn a little bit about each other, and you go, "Oh, I like that. Okay, that's too late to eat, but I did like that food we had yesterday." So,
Yeah, yeah, we definitely are having to, we have to play the translate game a little bit on things, especially vegetables. I don't know if they look different, but they're definitely, different words. Obviously, it's Spanish. So we were eating zucchini one night and I noticed she didn't really touch it a whole lot. So I asked her, I was like, "Oh, do you not like zucchini?" I was like, "I know you don't like green beans." She doesn't care for peas. She doesn't like squishy things. So no squishy vegetables. Um, but I had like these were like a stuffed zucchini boat. So I had scraped out, the inside, so it wasn't overly squishy. And I asked her what I was like, what was wrong with it? And because she ate all the rice out of it. And I was like, oh, I was like, I tried to make them a little more firm. And she was like, "I think I don't like this vegetable. What is it called?" And I told her zucchini. And of course, we pull up Google Translate and pop it in. And she was like, "I thought so. I don't like this. I don't like this vegetable." And I'm like, "Oh, man," I'm like, "I love zucchini. You're going to kill my shopping list here, woman."
some roasted zucchini and squash with some red potatoes. Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And she's very particular about like French fries. She does not like squishy French fries. They have to be crunchy. We're finding a lot of little things.
Yeah.
Of course, my husband and me are both big ranch fans. They actually don't use dressings like that at all in Europe. It is oil and vinegar and salt and pepper. So, like, my husband just gets such a kick out of watching her make her salads because he's like, "How does that taste good? We use vinegar to clean, and you use it in your dressing." So it's a fun learning experience. All the different things that we do so differently between countries.
Oh no, I love those stories. I know there's more to talk about. But real quick before we go here, we've been putting Laura's phone number up on the screen here. So if you're thinking of doing an event, you need to reach out to professionals. She is a certified ultimate event and wedding planner. So if somebody's got an event coming up, Laura, what's one or two things they need to answer to themselves before they move forward on planning an event?
Do you have the time and do you have a plan? Those are the top two things because you need to make sure that you have the time to do the research if you are going to be making plans for any type of event. Because you can't just go and pick a caterer. You have to make sure that they do the food you want, that their food is good. Um, you have to have time to research the venue of where you're going to have it. You need to know, is it going to fit you? Is it your style? If you're wanting a more rustic, natural feel, you're not going to go to a warehouse. It's very counterintuitive. So you want to make sure that if you are planning an event, you have to have time. You have to have a time to do the research, to do the planning, to catch all the details. So that's why you should always call a certified event planner because we have the time and we have the processes to help make sure that every check box gets checked.
And I assume the biggest mistake we make is like, oh, I thought I could do it all.
Yep. Yep. I've already had a wedding this year. I picked them up. They had 4 months left and all they had booked were two vendors. Um, it was it was a little chaotic. I overwhelmed them for sure because they didn't realize what they needed. And when I gave them the list, they were like, "Oh, we had no idea," because they were having an outdoor wedding. And I'm like, "It's summer. Like it's in August.
Yeah.
It's hot. We have to have fans. We have to have air movement. We need to have pallets of water." It's like these people are going to be passing out on you. I'm gonna be having to call EMTs at a wedding. So it was special. But yeah, that's probably one of the first things is that everybody thinks they can do it on their own. And if you have the time, more power to you because that's what it takes. But if you don't have the time to sit and do the research into all the vendors you need and to think about all of the logistics of the event, then you just need help. You need a friend, you need a professional event planner, you need somebody who can devote time to those topics.
Yeah, I feel for people that thought they could do that. They get halfway down and then they're like, and but then they're not, they're looking at it um, emotionally
Yes,
instead of logically and checking the boxes. And no, we're not at step 9 yet. We've not finished step 7, so we're not ready for that yet.
yes, yes. And they do, and not having a good plan makes a difference because if you're just bouncing around and checking random boxes, you're gonna miss important boxes that should have went with this box.
Yep. And there's certain things in life, folks, that we need to outsource. This is one of them. So go to a professional like Laura, even though she's based in Fayetteville, she will travel for events. So please give her a call. Laura enjoyed it very much. I know busy season is coming your way. And so,
Busy season now.
yep. So I hope it's a good one for you. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
We'll see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.